grain-free, and I use that as an example as one of these trends that really has overtaken the market fully at this point. We see those products even in grocery channel. The reality is that I'm not so sure. What is the fine line between a trend and a fad when it comes to something like grain-free? I think grain-free products are here to stay for sure. What I don't think is here to stay is the demonization of grains. I think that companies like ours, and without revealing too many secrets, I think companies like ours are going to figure out ways to really bring grains back into diets. I think many of you in the room would agree with me, most of you in the room, that in many cases a grain-based diet is a very appropriate, healthy diet, for dogs and cats. And I think there are ways to make that very much within that want spectrum, for consumers as well. So one example that's out there now is the idea of ancient grains, right? And I always get a kick out of the term ancient grains because it's a very sort of, fanciful word. But at the end of the day, some of these ancient grains are things that we've been putting in our products already. So, that's just one example of where I think manufacturers are starting to figure out ways that we can talk about delivering that great nutrition, in ways beyond, just the grain-free dynamic. So, long-winded way of saying I don't think it's going to be all about grain-free going forward.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Any other questions? Come on, group. I know you have hundreds of them. I'm going to kick in another one to help you get started, and that is a company the size of Mars. Things like dehydrated, freeze-dried are probably not necessarily and raw are not necessarily in your space, but there's a lot of development going on in that area, a lot of new products coming into that area. What do you foresee as our trend or fad in this whole dehydrated, freeze-dried, and raw category?
I think, whether any one of those technologies is a trend or fad, I don't know. You guys know as well as I do, to be honest with you. I think it's, if we could predict what's a trend and a fad, then, obviously we don't be making a lot more money and doing different things. I think the reality is, so we can't predict the future. What I'll tell you is definitely a trend that will stick is less processing. Right? We see that across both the human food industry and the pet industry, is that consumers want less and less processing in their foods. So really, when you think about freeze-dried, when you think about raw, when you think about frozen, these are really just technologies that allow us to be able to talk as manufacturers about less processing. So, once again, without giving up too much, are we getting our feet wet in all these areas as Mars? We absolutely are, right? Because we do want to be aware which of these things potentially can be, the big breaks in the industry. But at the end of the day, what we're staying very focused on are what are all of the ways that we deliver less processing and being able to talk about less processed food with our consumers, because that's fundamentally what I think those types of products are after and what consumers are looking for.
Presentation, I enjoyed it. I was wondering, as we put more characteristics into products that represent the wants of the customer, how do we maintain integrity as we disguise them as needs?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I got to be honest with you. It's our point of view at Mars. My point of view is there's a zero tolerance policy on the needs piece. We simply won't put a product out the door that doesn't deliver the needs for the dogs and for the cats, and at a very high level. That's one of the things that I love about working for Mars. I'm not going to speak for any of my competitors. I think, and I'd like to believe it's true for them as well. But at Mars, that will always be the first lens. We have 5 principles. Quality is our first principle, and we're held accountable to that. So, yes, obviously we are going to continue to push on the wants, and that will mean that there are ingredients that we will put into our products that, like I said, the non-GMO ingredients is a good example, that there may not be scientific evidence that these are delivering to the needs of the dogs or cats, but that will never go as a trade-off to, what the needs are. The needs piece has to come first. The quality of the product, and then from there, we'll decide whether we want to build additional value onto that product offering that would deliver against consumers' wants.